this new series about lessons from a reluctant leader. It's been a story that's been incredibly helpful to me over the last 2 years of my life, and I hope that you will feel empowered and equipped in your journey to become a better leader. Let's dive in. Awesome! Thanks for joining the second video where we explore lessons from a reluctant leader. We started with the story of Gideon and the oppression that he was in, and God calling him out of his cowardice to say, "Arise, brave warrior." And in this video we're going to unpack what happens next, because he's responded to the call over his life. And he's committed to that call by enforcing the actions that was required of him in a personal capacity. But the reality is you cannot be a leader if nobody is following you. And so we pick up the story just after he sorted out his own house and he broke down the idols in his own personhood so that he is ready to lead others to do the same. And his father backed him up and said, "Hey, if this altar that he destroyed is so offensive to the God, then let the God sort him out. Why are you acting as the agents of this God? It is not your job. And if this God really is as furious as you say, then he will deal with Gideon," which obviously doesn't happen. And so God redeems Gideon in that space and starts to raise him up as a leader of the people. And we pick up the story in Judges 6. It's that time of the year again. The Midianites are saddling up. Their 135,000 soldiers are descending on the land of Israel, and they are there to just decimate all the crops and take everything for themselves. And here's Gideon. He's been called by God to represent Israel in this fight. And we pick up an incredible story in verse 34 where it says, "But the Spirit of the Lord clothed Gideon with himself and took possession of him. And he blew the trumpet, and the clan was gathered to him. He sent out messengers through all Manasseh, and the Manassites were called to follow him. And he sent messengers to 3 other spaces, and they joined him as well." So it is not by his capability. It is still not him doing this. It is by the Spirit. Not by might, not by power, but by his Spirit, says the Lord. We see the same thing happen with Gideon. God fills him, he becomes brave, and he makes the trumpet call. He says, "Come, let us stand up for this fight." He sends out messengers. 32,000 people respond to Gideon's call. Now, he's a leader. And he's got an army. It's not nearly the size of the army he's going up against, but he's got a formidable army. And so hope begins to glimmer until God asks him the unthinkable. Guys, if you're still watching, thank you so much for following the content. If you like the content, please hit the like button, hit the notification bell, and if you have comments, please drop them in the comment section. I'd love to hear from you, what your thoughts are, what your challenges are, what you don't agree with, or what other content you feel I should push out into the space. It would be awesome to hear your thoughts. God calls Gideon. He empowers him to leadership. He finally gets him an army of 32,000 people, and Gideon is like, "Yes, this is going well." Until God asks him, "Gideon, your army's too big. I can't conquer the Midianites with these 32,000 people. So you've garnered the support. Empowered by my Spirit, you've brought them here, and I'm telling you, there are too many." Can you imagine? Gideon is already kind of reluctant, and he's committed to this path because God said, "I've called you." And he gets this inkling of hope. He's like, "Oh wow, 32,000 people have responded to me so that we have a slight chance." It's still kind of a 5-1 chance, but it's a chance in this fight. And with God on our side, surely we can conquer. And now God comes into the space and he says, "Gideon, it's too many people. You need to make the team smaller." Can you imagine what must be going through Gideon's mind in that space to say, how is it possible that this army is too big? And what God asks him to do is fascinating. He says, "Gideon, I want you to do a commitment test. Ask every person that has joined you of these 32,000, if they're scared, send them home. If they are only here out of obligation or out of tradition or out of social expectation, they will not serve you. There is no reason to have them in your team. Send them home." He sends this message to the 32,000 people. Do you know how many leave? 22,000. More than 2/3 of the people leave. mass exodus. They were all there because they were scared, or they had social expectation, not because they were really believers in the cause. And I think there are two incredible lessons we can distill from this specific chapter of Gideon's life. The first is that if you are going to stand up for leadership, you need to be willing to blow the trumpet. You need to be willing to communicate a new vision that God has given you, because it's not by might, it's not by power, it's not Gideon's vision. It's not your vision. But when you speak God's vision into a space, people will respond. But the second lesson we need to learn is we must do a commitment test. Because just because people respond to God's call doesn't mean they're doing that because they're absolutely convinced. It doesn't mean they're doing that from a place of faith, as Gideon is. Some of them are doing it out of obligation, and they are just as fearful as Gideon was. And God says those people will not serve your mission. They are not going to add, they're going to subtract from your potential. And sometimes in our minds we have this numbers game, right? We play a law of attrition and large numbers, and we say, well, if we're going to go into anything, we need lots of volume. But God doesn't work that way. He says, no, you need committed people. Whether they're much or few or little, it doesn't matter. Are they committed? Because one committed soldier can add so much more value than 3 times as many. And so perhaps in your journey of leadership, you're worried that your following is not big enough. You don't have enough people who respond to what you have to say, or who find valuable your contribution, or even believe in your dream. And I want to encourage you today to say that doesn't matter. The question is not a question of volume. The question is a question of commitment. And I hope that in this next season you will go find those people who are absolutely committed to the cause. Because where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, God can do the miraculous. God can do far above what you can think or even dare to ask. And God is not subjected to your ability to raise numbers. In a social media age where we're all encouraged to constantly hold the attention of as many people as possible, God's metrics are just different. And we see this in Jesus' life. Jesus changes the course of history by investing for 3 years in only 12 people. What if we started changing the way we think about social engagement? And what if you, instead of trying to find the biggest following of people, said, what is the minimum size my tribe can be and still be effective? And I want to encourage you as a leader, you are a leader of a tribe. Who's your tribe? Thank you so much for watching this far. I hope that you will join me in the next one as we unpack the even more ridiculous question that God poses to Gideon, and where he begins to recruit his team.